Miguel Street, Chapter 2. The Thing Without a Name. The only thing that Popo, who called himself a carpenter, ever built was a little galvanized iron workshop under the mango tree at the back of his yard. And even that he didn't quite finish. He couldn't be bothered to nail on the sheets of galvanized iron for the roof and kept them weighted down with huge stones. Whenever there was a high wind, the roof made a frightening banging noise and seemed ready to fly away. And yet Popo was never idle. He was always busy hammering and sawing and planing. I liked watching him work. I liked the smell of the woods, cype and cedar and cropod. I liked the color of the shavings, and I liked the way the sawdust powdered Popo's kinky hair. "What you making, Mr. Popo?" I asked. Popo would always say, "Ah, boy, that's the question. I'm making the thing without a name." I liked Popo for that. I thought he was a poetic man. One day I said to Popo, "Give me something to make." "What you want to make?" he said. I was hard to think of something I really wanted. "You see," Popo said, "you're thinking about the thing without a name." Eventually, I decided on an egg stand. "Who you making it for?" Popo asked. "Ma." He laughed. "Think she going to use it?" My mother was pleased with the egg stand and used it for about a week. Then she seemed to forget all about it and began putting the eggs in bowls or plates just as she did before. And Popo laughed when I told him. He said, "Boy, the only thing to make is a thing without a name." After I painted the tailoring sign for Bogart, Popo made me do one for him as well. He took the little red stump of a pencil he had stuck over his ear and puzzled over the words. At first he wanted to announce himself as an architect, but I managed to dissuade him. He wasn't sure about the spelling. The finished sign said, "Builder and Contractor, Carpenter and Cabinet Maker," and I signed my name as a sign writer in the bottom right-hand corner. Popo liked standing up in front of the sign, but he had a little panic when people who didn't know about him came to inquire. "The carpenter fellow," Popo would say, "he don't live here again." I thought Popo was a much nicer man than Bogart. Bogart said little to me, but Popo was always ready to talk. He talked about serious things like life and death and work, and I felt he really liked talking to me. Yet Popo was not a popular man in the street. They didn't think he was mad or stupid. Hat used to say, "Topo too conceited, you hear?" It was an unreasonable thing to say. Popo had the habit of taking a glass of rum to the pavement every morning. He never sipped the rum, but whenever he saw someone he knew, he dipped his middle finger in the rum, licked it, and then waved to the man. "We could buy rum too," Hat used to say, "but we don't show off like Popo." I myself never thought about it in that way, and one day I asked Popo about it. Popo said, "Boy, in the morning when the sun's shining and it's still cool, and you just get up, it make you feel good to know that you could go out and stand up in the sun and have some rum." Popo never made any money. His wife used to go out and work, and this was easy because they had no children. Popo said, "Women and them like work, man no make for work." Hat said, "Popo is a man woman, not a proper man." Popo's wife had a job as a cook in the big house near my school. She used to wait for me in the afternoons and take me into the big kitchen and give me a lot of nice things to eat. The only thing I didn't like was the way she sat and watched me while I ate. It was as though I was eating for her. She asked me to call her auntie. She introduced me to the gardener of the big house. He was a good-looking brown man, and he loved his flowers. I liked the gardens he looked after. The flower beds were always black and wet, and the grass green and damp and always cut. Sometimes he let me water the flower beds, and he used to gather the cut grass into little bags, which he gave me to take home to my mother. Grass was good for the hens. One day I missed Popo's wife. She wasn't waiting for me. Next morning I didn't see Popo dipping his finger in the glass of rum on the pavement. And that evening I didn't see Popo's wife. I found Popo sad in his workshop. He was sitting on a plank and twisting a bit of shaving around his fingers. Popo said, "Your auntie gone, boy." "Where, Mr. Popo?" "Ah, boy, that's the question." And he pulled himself up there. Popo found himself then a popular man. The news got around very quickly, and when Edders said one day, "I wonder what happened to Popo, like he got no more rum," Hat jumped up and almost cuffed him, and then all the men began to gather in Popo's workshop, and they would talk about cricket and football and pitchers, everything except women, just to try to cheer Popo up. Popo's workshop no longer sounded with hammering and sawing. The sawdust no longer smelled fresh and became black, almost like dirt. Popo began drinking a lot and didn't like him when he was drunk, and I didn't like him when he was drunk. He smelled of rum, and he used to cry and then grow angry and want to beat up everybody. That made him an accepted member of the gang. Hat said, "We was wrong about Popo. He is a man like any of we." Popo liked the new companionship. He was at heart a loquacious man, and always wanted to be friendly with the men of the street, and he was always surprised that he was not liked. So it looked as though he had got what he wanted. But Popo was not really happy. The friendship had come a little too late, and he found he didn't like it as much as he'd expected. Hat tried to get Popo interested in other women, but Popo wasn't interested. Popo did not think I was too young to be told anything. "Boy, when you grow old as me," he once said, "you find that you don't care for the things you thought you would like if you could afford them." That was his way of talking, in riddles. Then one day Popo left us. Hat said, "He don't have to tell me where he gone. He gone looking for his wife." Edward said, "Think she going come back with he?" Hat said, "Let me wait and see." We didn't have to wait long. It came out in the papers. Hat said it was just what he expected. Popo had beaten up a man in Arima. The man had taken his wife away. It was a gardener who used to give me bags of grass. Nothing much happened to Popo. He had to pay a fine, but they let him off otherwise. The magistrate said Popo had better not molest his wife again. They made a calypso about Popo, and that was a rage that year. It was a road march for the carnival, and the Andrews sisters sang it for an American recording company. A certain carpenter fella went to Arima looking for a mopsy called Emelda. It was a great thing for the street. At school I used to say, "The carpenter fella was a good friend of mine." And at cricket matches and at races, Hat used to say, "Know him? God, I used to drink with that man night and day. Boy, he could carry his liquor." Popo wasn't the same man when he came back to us. He growled at me when I tried to talk to him, and he drove out Hat and the others when they brought a bottle of rum to the workshop. Hat said, "Woman, send that man mad, you hear?" But the old noises began to be heard once more from Popo's workshop. He was working hard, and I wondered whether he was still making the thing without a name, but I was too afraid to ask. He ran an electric light to the workshop and began working in the night time. Vans stopped outside his house and were always depositing and taking away things. Then Popo began painting his house. He used a bright green, and he painted the roof a bright red. Hat said, "The man really mad," and added, "Like he getting married again." Hat wasn't too far wrong. One day, about 2 weeks later, Popo returned, and he brought a woman with him. It was his wife, my auntie. "You see the sort of thing woman is," Hat commented. You see the sort of thing they like? Not the man, but the new house paint up and all the new furniture inside it. I bet if the man in a room had a new house and new furnitures, she wouldn't come back with Popo. But I didn't mind. I was glad. It was good to see Popo standing outside with his glass of rum in the mornings and dipping his finger into the rum and waving at his friends. And it was good to ask him again, "What you making, Mr. Popo?" And to get the old answer, "Ah, boy, that's the question. I'm making the thing without a name." Popo returned very quickly to his old way of living, and he was still devoting his time to making the thing without a name. He had stopped working, and his wife got her a job with the same people near my school. People in the street were almost angry with Popo when his wife came back. They felt that all their sympathy had been mocked and wasted. And again Hat was saying, "That blasted Popo too conceited, you hear?" But this time Popo didn't mind. He used to tell me, "Boy, go home and pray tonight that you get happy like me." What happened afterwards happened so suddenly that we didn't even know it had happened. Even Hat didn't know about it until he read it in the papers. Hat always read the papers. He read them from about 10 in the morning until about 6 in the evening. Hat shouted out, "But what is this I seen?" And he showed us the headlines. "Calypso Carpenter Jailed." It was a fantastic story. Popo had been stealing things left and right. All the new furnitures, as Hat called them, hadn't been made by Popo. He had stolen things and simply remodeled them. He had stolen so much, as a matter of fact, and had to sell the things he didn't want. That was how he had been caught, and we understand now why the vans were always outside Popo's house. Even the paint and the brushes with which he had redecorated the house had been stolen. Hat spoke for all of us when he said, "That man too foolish. Why he had to sell what he thief? Just tell me that. Why?" We agreed that it was a stupid thing to do, but we felt deep inside ourselves that Popo was really a man, perhaps a bigger man than any of us. And as for Auntie, Hat said, "How much jail he get? A year? With 3 months off for good behavior, that's 9 months in all. And I give she 3 months good behavior too. And after that, I ain't going to have no more Emelda in Miguel Street, you hear?" But Emelda never left Miguel Street. She not only kept her job as a cook, but she started taking in washing and ironing as well. No one in the street felt sorry that Popo had gone to jail because of the shame. After all, that was a thing that could happen to any of us. They felt sorry only that Emelda was going to be left alone for so long. He came back as a hero. He was one of the boys. He was a better man than either Hat or Bogart. But for me, he had changed, and the change made me sad. For Popo began working. He began making Morris chairs and tables and wardrobes for people. And when I asked him, "Mr. Popo, when you going to start making the thing without a name again?" he growled at me. "You're too troublesome," he said. "Go away quick before I lay my hand on you." End of chapter 2.